What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is Clover, and this is your Star Citizen Weekend Review for November 10th, 2025. 4.4 and Nyx are finally in Wave 1, so I can actually show it to you, but I don't think you really want to see it in this state. The whole sea appears to be working well again, and IAE is nearing with a big sneak peek for the Perseus this week. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. So stop by and say hi if you haven't yet. I really enjoy seeing you guys over there. But we have a lot to get through, and before we do, let me share with you today's sponsor. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Manscaped dropped a really nice bundle to effectively clean your slate, if you will, in 2025 and into 2026. The all-in-one grooming kit. This kit tackles everything from body grooming to rogue nose hairs and ear hairs, and the ear sharp, confident, and ready for whatever comes your way. It comes with their staple, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Groin and Body Hair Trimmer. It's precise, smooth, and always reliable, whether it's a date, a workout, or just a regular Tuesday. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra keeps you looking your best all year long. Now, don't forget what makes the Lawnmower 5.0 so awesome. It's the interchangeable blades. The trimmer has long, wide, rounded teeth that cut through hair with ease. The other blade is the foil blade, which is meant to leave you with a smooth, bare finish if that's what you desire. You have the choice. Next, for me and my genetics, you have the most important tool in my chest from Manscaped, the Weed Whacker 3.0 ear, nose, and eyebrow hair trimmer. Trim all the stray hairs your face creates. No surprises, no awkward moments with the Weed Whacker 3.0. You'll stay polished, confident, and ready for every occasion. Lastly, you have your ball aftercare products, the Crop Soother and the Crop Preserver, to keep you fresh, comfortable, and confident. So you're always ready to move forward. And yeah, you also get 2 free gifts included, the Boxers 2.0 Midnight Bravo and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag, because you deserve an upgrade. Use my promo code SaltEMike15 and you'll get 15% off at checkout. Once again, that is 15% off with promo code SaltEMike15 at manscaped.com. Or if you need it today, you can find Manscaped at a store near you, because nothing says I care like a well-groomed man. All right, and with all the bills paid out of the way, let's get to those patch updates. All right, we had a ton of updates this week, and we start out on Monday, where the big update here is for haulers around the purchasing of commodities and auto loading into a stored vehicle. This worked flawlessly for me. I did a quick auto load in Area 18 and had no issues at all. This is actually quite a big deal for haulers in Pyro and maybe in Nyx as well, as station-to-station trading can be done entirely automatically, while you cannot do that at places like Outposts. So it provides a nice chill loop since there's so many stations, and yeah, a lot of people don't like manually loading and unloading cargo. They also are addressing the whole sea, as I mentioned in the intro, and fixing the freezing that never resumes, and to that, in my experience, it seems to be fixed. I am hearing that it's maybe still a little bit hit and miss, and people are excited for the same reasons as stated above, is the whole sea is auto loading and auto unloading, and that gives a lot of chill content for players again. I did both commodity trading, which worked again flawlessly, and I also did missions. I did try to do 2 missions at the same time, which a lot of people know with Hull Seas just never works, but that's why I tried it, and I was able to complete 1 mission of those 2 that I had. The other one just would not load, right? They are also still trying to nail down 40K errors, and some are still kind of getting those. So yeah, they're trying to fix those in that patch. By the end of the day, the hotfix channel was closed, and this was moved to live. So this was all a hotfix on live. To be clear, this is not a 4.4 thing. Then, this evening, we had, or Monday evening, we had a 4.4 Evo Patch, and the main thing changed that in this patch was the Vanguard Hoplite, which, man, I don't know who flies that thing right now, but the nose HP was increased, or excuse me, the nose HP was decreased and the body HP was increased. Then Tuesday 4.4, and this will kind of be the trend for the rest of the week, is Delamar and Levski polish with some Nyx bug fixes. Not a whole lot else going on. Not them seeing other fixes they need to do in live and do those. Wednesday, we had a 4.4, another patch that was just mostly visual polish. Again, this was still an Evo Cati, but you'll see how it was going because we get to wave 1 on Thursday, and yeah, it went about as well as you would expect. Extremely low frame rates because everyone being in one place and just a general lack of things to do. Just a note here, the server count is 6 servers in Stanton where nobody is, and 2 servers in Nyx, and 2 servers in Pyro where nobody is, right? So odd choice there, but I don't know what else they're supposed to do. There's not a lot of things in Nyx, so how do you add more than 2 servers, right? There's 2 things. This patch was incredibly crashy for me, and it seemed like it was for many other people as well, but yeah, what a surprise. And the year of stability, by the way, right? New loading screen is a thing, though, and the big thing here is on the left side, there's the potential for UEE intervention in the system because of the Vandal raids, right? And that's a bit odd. We have CFP potentially like running Pyro, which are, you know, casuals, and then you have the UEE potentially coming to the only other unlawful system. So lore is kind of doing whatever they want, it sounds like here, and the gameplay side of the systems just don't seem to matter. Big entry in the notes here is the boom tube, but I never found it. Now, I did find it later on Friday, but unfortunately, I don't have any footage for you because it only spawns, I would assume, for the first person who gets to the area, because I was at the same area for 3 hours and it never respawned. They also did a Max Ox update in the game. We'll show more about that in Roadmap Roundup. I did a few hauling missions outside of the system, so the interstellar haulers, and they worked. So on a positive note, this is really needed. When I come through the jump point, I can see a marker. It's hard to not at least feel happy about that working, right? The content in the system is nearly identical to what we have in other systems for now. As you see, I just have a normal patrol mission. So the content in the system at this point is just lacking, right? On Friday, that does change. Now, there are 3 new ores, 2 of high value, I would say, and 1 of low, but it's so hard to mine with the frame rate that I had, and I was only ever to get the server to scan 1 rock and then never scanned again, and yeah, same with even ships. Recco Battaglia is there, but she doesn't do much, and you can have a short conversation with her. I was just hoping to get some missions because, you know, she did mining missions, so that would be cool. And then Thursday, we continued on with Frontier Fighter Phase 3. And as soon as it went live, I jumped in and killed a Polaris or 2, but then nearly got nuked by 30 solo piloted Idrises. Not really, there was like 6 here. But they're firing their lasers, and you can go through them, and then it crimes to all this silly stuff. So I just gave up and hung out with the rest of the folk, just sitting at a station collecting mission rewards, and let other people finish it for me. Great mission design. Fantastic. So I completed the 3rd phase in about 2 hours, and I have the rewards all in my hangar, and yeah, we're done. I'm finally done with that stuff. Friday, we had a 4.4 Wave 1 again, and all I did for this patch was focus on the new event mission, and honestly, it seems pretty decent. The issue here was constant, and I mean constant. I had nearly 20 or more server errors trying to get this thing done, and I finally got burnt when I was almost done with the mission after about 3 hours, where a server error broke a code that I needed to put in for me. I don't want to spoil it much from, you know, because what you could see, the mission is quite fun, or at least what I could see, the mission was quite fun. But in the end, the basics were spoiled by them at Sitcon, right? You fight off some Vandal, and people occupying the station let you land. Once you land, they backstab you, and you kind of learn a little bit more about what's going on there. Listen to the backstab part now.
Sorry, killer. Nothing personal. But you ain't leaving this place alive.
Yep, and all of this is just apparently tied to the ASD stuff and will not really put an end to Dr. Jorit's story, because we never saw him, and that was just horribly told at the end there. I hope we see Dr. Jorit again and this continues in some way. And totally unrelated, the new IAE event is all ready to go on this patch. And yeah, they were just testing the showroom, and I'm loving the black and gold theme. And I also love the walk up from Orison, because yeah, it's really nice. And they kind of do similar things as they did last year, where it seems like it's going to be a static showroom, and then you get everything changing in the ASOPs. And the last thing for patch notes is a launcher update, kind of, because it just, yeah, they did their thing, but then it caused a lot of issues, so they decided to roll it back. And there wasn't much in the launcher update anyway, so okay, cool. With that, let's move into roadmap roundup, which is a lot smaller of a section. All right, this one was much quieter than roadmaps that we've had in the past. It includes adding 2 pictures to a previous update that we already knew about. The images that were added were for Wicklow. Is the first one, the Guardian MX and the RSI Meteor. And I have to say, the MX skin is odd. It just doesn't fit the Wicklow theme. And the Meteor is one of the more unique and cool ones, kind of like pearlescent. And then this is the update to the Max Ox weapons that we had saw before. I personally, I've said this before, I don't really know what the purpose of these updates actually are. I'm just hope they're to improve performance, maybe, but I've never really had an issue with the look of the weapons, so you have to assume that these are an onboarding thing for a new modeler or something like that. And lastly, the exterior freight elevators. We saw plenty of this at CitizenCon. It's awesome to get them working in-game, but as I've stated many times, the freedom of these things and the lack of game rules around them is just going to cause chaos, and it's going to be a problem. And with that, let's move into the monthly report, and this is a much longer section. All right, we skip all the AI stuff and go straight into animation, and the only thing of note here is that they're doing motion capture shoots for a new mission giver, but those that are already playing 4.4 know that we don't see a new mission giver, as they stated here, and we'll see them in a future patch. But you will hear some NPCs chatting about certain things, and I assume that's what they're kind of on about here with the voice packs. Character art, similar to animation, the character team just seems focused on Nyx content, bringing more factions. The new faction in Nyx feels just like every other faction, so I don't really feel to me like they're succeeding here. They just shoot you like everybody else, so I'm looking forward to when we get a bit more to these factions other than some random armor. Like, the best faction that we've had so far are the Fire Rats, because you could tell that they're psychos, right? Like, that's a thing. Ship art is next, and first up is the Hammerhead and the Aurora getting their updates. More on the Aurora in just a second. The Hull B is getting prepped for white box review. I've spoken a ton about this ship before. I love exterior loading ships because they just make hauling 5 times easier when you have to manually load, and that ship has around 300 SCU, which I think is the sweet spot for fun for manual loading for me, so I'm really hyped for this ship. After this text, we get a really good look at the, well, not a really good look at the Aurora. Hopefully my editor can like brighten this up and make it look more readable. But the ship is inside another one, to say the least, and we'll get to that in just a second. That is a bit of a sneak there. What is different about the Aurora is, the main thing I noticed is the guns. They're absolutely located in a different spot. They used to be out much wider from the pilot. Now they're much more central, which does make aiming a little bit easier. People said it looks bigger, but I can't tell from the image. I certainly hope it is. It would really need to be if it was going to compete with other starters. The text around the next image is about new ships, and we don't know much from the post except it's just one variant. But the image is the exterior of the ship the Aurora was in. And then the image after that really tells you what that ship is. It is for sure the Ironclad, which is another ship from an industry standpoint that I cannot wait for, because a big rectangular box sounds like it'll be much easier to deal with cargo. The next text blob mentions a new vehicle, which is probably just your IAE LTI token. It's just an STV with a gun rack, if I recall correctly. And yeah, the more work on the Perseus, specifically a playtest, more on that ship in other updates. And then for core gameplay, yep, this is the entire core gameplay section. So you know where the priorities are with this game, as always. And the main thing they mention is allowing us to carry 3 guns now, so 2 on your back and 1 in your hand. And this is a massive quality of life improvement, as there are many issues where you need to grab a 3rd gun and the game prevents you when you have free hands. The economy team, the main updates here, I think, are generally just setting up Nyx, but also dealing with commodity trading that they're calling freelance cargo hauling, just generally trying to make it better. I don't know exactly what they're doing here but one of the ways they want to do it is using the journal, which I simply just cannot. This team has now existed for well over a year, I believe, and I really would have hoped to see something that really resembles a market-driven economy at some point. Whether it's, market-driven with NPCs or market-driven with us, I was hoping to see something, but we seem literal gigameters from that, so I have no idea what's going on there. They also balanced the buy-ins for salvage missions to address the changes to the mechanic, which were certainly required. And moving on to mission design, there's a lot here, but I want to start with them saying that there's a major loot refresh, and I'm not sure what entails that yet, outside of maybe putting, and I feel like these were there the whole time, scorched items at distribution centers, but I still feel like the loot containers feel so random and weird and don't feel good. They just continue to work on curry, like it's just totally random, and it's like a lottery ticket what you're gonna get sometimes, and I don't know, that doesn't feel fun. They also continue work on courier missions, as pyro was their first step, they said, and the major mention here was that Siege of Orison is in preparation for instancing and design changes, and they're looking to see what they need to change to make it work. And this is important because, again, this is the first instance content. And then online tech, anytime tier 1 item recovery is mentioned, I'm going to highlight it for you. I can't wait to loot the guns off of you again, and I don't even need to be the one that killed you because I probably won't be, but I always loved coming across loot that was actually useful from a real player. Think somebody with a tweaker gun, right? And for the same reason as mentioned item recovery, they mentioned dynamic meshing. So yeah, just pointing that out to you. And with that, that is the monthly report. Let's move on to other updates. And as of course, we start out with the sneak peek. So this is 100% part of the Drake Ironclad, but what I'm not sure is if it's the command module or not. Let me know what you guys think. I kind of see the back wing, and I think it might be, plus the downward angle that we're seeing as well. So regardless, this is again one of the ships I've been looking forward to the most, because yeah, I just really think it will be nice to work with, because it's just a big cavern, and it's not, hopefully not hard to move stuff in and out of. It just basically feels like an exterior freight elevator in a way. So yeah, one of the few ships I'm excited for. The IAE page is next. Not too much to announce here. It's just basically the 2-week warning to let CIG, or for CIG to let you know that there's a big free fly plus a sale coming, right? But the video in the top is quite cool, as it's our first really good look at the Perseus in action, and it looks really, really neat. And they did sneak a few things in here. Specifically, this little ship here looks pretty cool and different. So yeah. Then Levski Traveler's Guide is the next thing. Not much to say here other than it's just a lore post on the website, because of course they can't do the lore in the game well yet. Oh goodness. They talk about the vibe of the system and that it has, and right now it's hard to feel that vibe in the actual game, like I just said, right? So with everything in Star Citizen, this deep lore still just sits in text form and is no way immersive and anything like that. So I just, yeah, I don't know if I should expect that to be a reality, but yeah. Outside of that, assuming this is in release order, Rockbreaker might be the next thing that we see in system, and I really enjoy the Hathor gameplay. So yeah, if it's adding Nyx and space Hathor stuff, then I'm happy. And then after that is the municipal works. Might make sense. Then we move on to the subscriber update, where we get the $10 sub item, which is a classic clothing item, which is a biker jacket that's like Headhunter style, or the new Headhunter style, I guess. And then a $20 item that is very much more, you know, things that they should be doing, but probably not at this price. I expect at the moment that we get base building, that we see them doing entire furniture sets in different styles for someone who's only worried about purchases like myself. In the game, this has no effect on gameplay, so I'm all for stuff like that. And lastly, there's a pack of the 2 on the subscriber store. Then for dev posts, We had in-game ships. They are adding a couple ships into the in-game shops rather than just Wicklow. Asgard is the big one here, and I know that's 18 million. I don't know the price of the other ships though, but more ships to follow, and there are a lot more ships that need to follow. For me, the one in particular is the Idris. Where is this for in-game purchase? Where is this for Wicklow? Why every time I see an Idris now, it is still just a pay to enjoy ship? You know, I can call it whatever you want, but you can only buy it. This is a video game. Like, what the hell are we doing? Low flying. I am not, is the next one. And I'm going to be honest, I have no clue what any of this means. But I know low flying has a really dedicated fan base in the community, and any information on this would be important to them. So all I'll say is link is in the description. Yogi went really hard on this one. So if you're into low flying, check that out and maybe you'll understand what's going on there. And with that, that was this week. Thank you so much for watching Week in Review. A massive week in terms of information. Not a massive week in terms of pushing Star Citizen forward. I mean, maybe if you consider Nyx, like, you know, obviously Nyx is a huge check mark, right? So yes, it is a massive step into pushing the game forward, but have they succeeded with delivering Nyx yet? At the frame rate that we have, it is hard to say that they are. So yeah, that's been kind of the tough part. But yeah, again, with that, like the video if you guys enjoy Week in Review, and if you really enjoy it and want to see more, hit subscribe, and please leave a comment down below on anything we talked about today and anything we may have missed. And as always, all of the sources for everything that we covered this week is linked down in the description if you want to see it for yourself. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next week.